afternoon, ladies and children. That sounds like a very hungry hi. Hi! Hi! Let's hear all the children. Hi! Thank you.
Teresa Hall was a woman who was obsessed with the arts. And when I say arts, that includes not just music and dance. Gardening was a major passion. She was a horticulturist. She had a real passion for fashion. A lot of people may not know that. And she was a clothes designer and so on. So growing up, perhaps what best describes my life as the son of Teresa Hall growing up is the fact that from 5 years old, I would have to wake up at 5 o'clock every morning to water all of Teresa's plants at the front and at the back of the house. And I got paid for that, by the way. So she started me off making me understand what business was all about.
My mom was a very loving, generous, and kind individual. She taught us how to be disciplined and how to interact with others by showing kindness.
Auntie Teresa, or Miss Teresa, was the sister to my father, George Russell 𝗖𝗂𝗋𝗂𝗏. And the Halls and the Lakes were two families really very, very closely bonded. Summertime, we, the Lake family, spent time at the Halls in Lance Road, and the Halls the next day would come up to Mondador. My mother, my late mother, and the late Teresa Hall were so close as sisters-in-law. There was never, not even one instance that we can remember in their lives that they were vexed, quarreling, whatever, because they were so close. A big part of the person I am today has to do with the fact that Teresa Hall, my aunt, and her mother, Aunt B, were disciplinarians, like my mother was and my father as well.
It's not Mrs. Hall, it's Ma Hall. I knew Ma Hall as a young child without knowing that I knew her. It's only as I grew as an adult I realized that I knew her. Because Ma Hall, my father was a policeman, Ma Hall's husband was a policeman, so yeah, there's a lot of contact in that way. But also growing up as a young schoolboy, I remember this teacher who I always saw, wherever I saw her, whether it is, and it's usually a school or the other, she was sitting, knitting, knitting or crocheting or doing some craft with some young students. Well, not necessarily young students, adults too, but that is my memory of that woman as a child.
So at the time they needed a lot of people to teach, and we did not have secondary schools. You only had St. Joseph's Convent and St. Mary's College. So most of us did not go to secondary school. So they took to make up for the change in the system, they had to recruit people. So they took brighter people in the top class, standard 6, to teach. So that is how I became a teacher. Mrs. Hall became a teacher, and a large number of us. I taught at the Asty Boys Infant School, and Mrs. Hall was appointed at the Cicero Primary School. But after a while, she was transferred to the Ave Maria School, and later in life, so she was appointed at the Castries Comprehensive School, where she taught the children the art of crocheting and so on.
My mom was very strict. In fact, everybody who knows Teresa Hall will tell you that she was a serious disciplinarian and a no-nonsense woman. So discipline was a tall order, and school education was extremely important to her. It was important that you went to school and that you did well.
If she's speaking to you, you couldn't be having a conversation with somebody else. And that's how she was a very strict person. Respect, and that's how she brought us up.
On a Sunday, you had to go to church in Mahall's house. There were no bones about it, and you had to be on time. And while we were not the richest people in the world, there was always money to put in the collection box. I'm not sure if all of it made it to the church, but generally we left home with monies to put in the collection box.
Well, you get up and you get ready to go to church. That's the main thing. And then have lunch together as a family every Sunday. And since there were 9 of us, everybody had a turn to wash the dishes. But I had a sister who worked with the airline, and every time it was her turn, she traveled on that Sunday, so she never got to wash the dishes. She was very active in the 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗂 church. She had her days, Sundays where she had to do the readings, and you had to pay attention. If she saw you talking while she was doing the reading, she would call you out after church. She was straight to the point. She didn't mince her words, and that's what she brought across. She didn't give you time for you to give her any excuses.
Mahal was forceful. She was a force of nature. She pushed through. No was not an answer Mahal heard. Maybe she heard it, but it didn't stop her. No wasn't a stop. Okay? No was a step.
I have been speaking for a long, long time. The dress, the music, the songs, it's going out. They're not doing anything. They are not encouraging anybody to continue.
She just had that art of, having that communication with people and getting her point across that she would always get people to do what she wanted to do.
I do it for the love of it and for the love of country.
Manners and etiquette. One thing about her, she believed in that. Manners, etiquette, and so on. And in that came along with her discipline. A very disciplined side. She was a disciplinarian and so on, especially when it comes to your behavior, your action.
We had a breadfruit tree in the backyard, and a gentleman came off the street and climbed up the breadfruit tree and picked the breadfruits. So she told him if he wanted a breadfruit, he should have asked her. So since he went up and he picked breadfruits for himself, because she donated breadfruits to the Marion home, she made him go back up the tree and pick all the breadfruits and bring them all down to take to the Marion home.
She treated everybody equally. Whether you be government minister, whether you be governor general, whether you be a young student, whether you be a jungle on the street, you would get Mahal's tongue if that's what you have to get. She would give it to you. And Mahal, she wasn't a hypocrite. She told you what she wanted to tell you. You heard and you listened.
Mahal, another very affectionate name for her, as far as in my family, and from everybody else, knew her to be a no-nonsense person. Spoke it like it was, but able to, with her sternness, still has this glint in her eye of mischief. And I realized my father has it as well as my other aunt, Eulina Crafton, where she would say something in a gruff voice, but when you look at her, she has a little smile in the corner of her mouth, so you can't take her seriously in that way.
Later on in life, with my work as a cultural researcher, cultural activist, and so on, and with the Folk Research Center, the founding and the development of Folk Research Center with Monsignor Patrick Anthony, I got in touch with her and got very, very close to Mahal. She became a friend, she became a mentor, a tormentor, and a tremendous resource on our folk culture, our heritage. In all of that was me calling her or going to visit her, calling her on the phone, going to visit her, and her first reaction to me, Mahal, what you want? Yeah. That was Mahal. Whether on the phone, what you want? And then it break down. So there was this in a sense, personal note, there's just two sides to 𝗲𝗏𝗏. Two sides, a double personality, you can say it. You know? 𝗲𝗏𝗏 had the most beautiful smile, charming, engaging, inclusive, warm. And she also had the most tearing, biting scowl, a frown, you know, and both of them would work together. So at the same time, she said, "What you want?" Yeah, boots, you know, and then and 𝗲𝗏𝗏 would break down, and she'd be the warmest personality.
I am always very polite. When people I know very, very well call me, I'm not very polite. But people I don't know, I'm always very polite to them.
A good bit of people know Teresa Hall and her humorous side, but Mrs. Teresa Hall was the ultimate comedian. If you were in my mom's company for more than 3 minutes and you did not laugh, then something was wrong with you. She was just absolutely amazing. Just to give you, you know, an idea of what her humor was like, Mrs. Hall would let you know that she's going to call you at 6 in the morning to discuss something. And for Mrs. Hall, 6 o'clock is 6 o'clock. But then, knowing people to be who they are, she would call you at 5:45 to ask you if you're still sleeping and to let you know you need to start waking up for her call at 6 o'clock. And then she will hang up the phone and call you back at 6 o'clock.
People don't know, but on Saturday nights, if you go to the hall, you might not get her because she's watching WWF wrestling.
She loved wrestling. Teresa Hall is perhaps still the biggest wrestling fan ever. I got hooked on wrestling because my mom would sit down every Saturday to watch her wrestling and do not disturb. She didn't have to put up any sign. You just knew that that was wrestling time. There was no competition for the television in terms of anybody else wanting to see some other program or something. Wrestling time on a Saturday. And Mama was obsessed with wrestling. Hulk Hogan was her favorite wrestler. She loved Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. I think these were her two favorite wrestlers. Mom actually went to see wrestling live in the US, I think more than once, because, I mean, she was a real wrestling fan. She was a mother to everybody. And when I say everybody, young or old, you know, I think children gravitated towards my mom because she gave them a lot of time and attention, and I think that a lot of them may not have been getting elsewhere. But generally, everything about her was all about young people and empowering young people. And when she started the group, the Helen Folk Dancers, I mean, that was just absolutely amazing. I meet people today who tell me, "Your mom taught me to dance quadrille," and I'm saying, wow. You know, it's just unbelievable the number of lives that she touched.
Dans caille danser, moi je n'ai qu'à dire mamselle.